stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting, West Burlington City Council, to order. Roll call, please.
Christie?
Here.
Browner?
Here.
Whitemeyer?
Here.
Lees?
Here.
Young?
Here.
Need to perfect and approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support. There's a motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Browner?
Aye.
Whitemeyer?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Motion carried. Consent agenda.
Motion approved is presented.
Second.
There's a motion with support to approve consent agenda items 1 through 5, which are the minutes from the regular city council meeting on August 18, 2021. Approve a payment to Municipal Solutions. Approve a payment to Lynch Dallas. Approve a payment to Municipal Supply. And approve the claims list as presented in the amount of $106,730.18. Any discussion? Roll call.
Whitemeyer?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Browner?
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll go to council and staff reports. Greg?
Not a whole lot tonight, Your Honor. Just, I wanted to mention two things. Well, one, it's just been kind of a crazy week for lots of reasons, but projects, audit, et cetera. I just wanted to mention two things that Iowa Municipal Attorneys Association had a presentation, and I just wanted to point out, if you haven't seen it in your league emails, two items of note. Senate File 619, which was passed on the backfill, the phase out of the backfill over 5 and 8 years, just something to keep in mind as we go into the budget process. So we'll fall into that 8-year category. Well, it's technically going to be 4 and 7. It takes this year into account. So just something to keep in mind. I just wanted to point that out. We'll obviously need to go into that in more detail during the budget process, take that into account. House File 849 did not pass, and that was related to TIF and the wind down of perpetual TIFs. So I just wanted to point that out as well. I understand that it's coming back. We need to keep a close eye on it. This is one of the reasons I'm putting together kind of working with our bond council, have a broader discussion on bonding and financing in general when she comes to present the TIF report. And it's something we're going to need to keep a close eye out on. That will greatly affect West Burlington in our TIF revenue, if that does end up going through in that wind down process. So something to keep an eye out for, and contact your legislatures. I'll certainly let you know if I see anything on it. So.
Yeah. Do I have anything for Greg? Mike, what do you got to report?
Just a couple things. Been replacing a couple hydrants, some water valves. We got another water valve coming up. There was a press release put out. We'll be shutting Van Wee Street down from Brentwood to Broadway on Tuesday because we got to tear out the center of Van Wee Street to repair a broken valve. It'll be a day of exposing and getting it ready, and the next day cut it out, backfill, and then we got to pour concrete and let concrete set up. So it may be roughly 4 days that stretch will be shut down until I get that fixed.
And I had somebody ask me, is Broadway intersection going to be shut down?
No.
It's just past that.
Yeah, you just,
Okay, that's what I thought.
there'll be through traffic for the Swan Apartments to be able to get down to where the hole is and get in and out of the Swan Apartments, but unfortunately for people taking their kids to school from West Burlington Avenue, you just have to get an alternate route because that street will be shut coming down along the freeway all the way. Been doing some street repairs out on Mount Pleasant, some sidewalks. Got 6 more water taps in and inspected in the sewers for Ryan Nagrocki's condos. They're all hooked up and turned on out there. Pothole and looking for the well line for the contractor, so when we go to tear that out to lay the new water main. Mowing, hauling brush, and concrete rubble and dirt from projects. Started winterizing the pool this week. We got our training done at the South Lift Station for the new controls down there. Working on the Pat Klein toilets in between jobs, and when the rain comes, that project's been kind of fighting us getting through the block wall to mount them toilets, but we're gaining on it. Water tower people should be back in town, I believe, next week with the steel crew to start setting up, and you'll see more activity going on out there again. Landfill, I'm still waiting on seeding and culverts to be cleaned out. They're in the seeding window, but they haven't got back to town to finish that project up. South Lift, we got a few issues and problems down there we're working out between the contractor and the engineers to resolve some issues down there so we can get through that project and get it done. Lewis Park will be starting on the creek. There was a few glitches beginning of this week before they actually started doing the work on the creek. The pavers got started today. If anybody wants to go over and see, they got the chip rock in and got their first layer started going out from the curb, I believe. Just had a semi-load of pavers come by me on Mount Pleasant on the way here to be delivered, so they informed me that 3 to 3.5 days was all it'd take, and they'd have all those interlocked and be all the way up the street with the new pavers, so that should...
When are they starting from?
I think they're starting right down at the bottom end and the egress, the handicap sidewalk, to lock them in there, and then they'll work their way up the hill to the top, I believe, is how they're going about that. And that's all I got.
Anybody have anything for Mike?
Two things real quick. Number one, just to thank you. You've got a million projects on you right now, so thank you for your hard work and for everybody that's working for Public Works right now. I know it's a lot. So number two, I just wanted to know, I kind of asked this last meeting, do we have any update on a place for leaves this fall?
Forgot that as soon as you started talking. That's on my list too. We've been discussing that in staff meeting, trying to come up with a plan. We just can't dump at the shop yet because the contractor owns that site for safety. And across from Deary's at the old water plant, I have a couple bins. We were discussing maybe using that, but then locates have come in for demo, and they kind of got that area sewed up for their demo, so I don't want to get started there and then have to pull off. I'm not sure the pool parking lot because of trash and stuff and have to move blocks in. I've got a hold of Dennis Levine today. He's supposed to be getting back to me about maybe in the pool parking lot if we could line up 4 or 5 big dumpsters for people to throw their leaf bags into. But he's got the same concern. They pick one up, take it out, start to dump it. Anybody that throws bags, trash, tires in it, their driver's got to get out, sort through it, pick it up out of there. It's a big fight. It's the same fight we have at the shop too. When our guys start in the morning, you just pretty much got to go root through it, pull out garbage and trash and all the illegal stuff that we can't throw in there. And the landfill's only doing their job. They can't have that in the compost either. It's just a pain. So open for other ideas. We're still hashing that out.
Idea. I bet we got some space out at the Raider property. We could set up a little chain link fence or something that we could accommodate that. If that's something you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. We can talk about it. But I also had Angie pull out some comparison of what we've spent this year and the last 2 previous years on hauling brush out to the landfill and what it's cost above and beyond what our public works guys, this doesn't include their time or the dollars, in their wages, but this year so far, since we closed the site in April, we've been charged $581. For the year so far, we've been charged $894.96 just to haul, just for the brush that's being hauled out there. Last year in 2020, for the full year, we spent, it's cost the city an additional $3,454.83. And the year previous, in 2019, it was $2,745.60. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, and I think a lot of people are used to it by now, is they're hauling the stuff out to the landfill without having us having to spend an additional, we're talking close to $2,500, $2,700 extra in the last 2 years.
And brush and leaves, or grass and leaves are free, whether they dump in the landfill or dump them there at the shop. And then, like I said, I got to route through trash, 2 drivers a day, 2 days a week. That's wear and tear, oil changes, tires. There's a lot that adds on to that.
I I want to say right now, I'm in favor of doing something for them, so.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Anything else for Mike? Okay, Jess?
Last week, we did the Governor's Traffic Safety Grant with Des Moines County Sheriff's Department, Burlington Police Department, and State Patrol between 6 and 10 p.m. It did rain that night a little bit, but we still did saturation patrol, out on Highway 61 and Highway 34. 46 warnings were issued and 21 citations. Press release from Sergeant Short from the Burlington Police Department provided the stats for us, so it's a pretty good turnout. Again, number one killer on the highways is speed, so that's why we're out on the highways, Highway 34 and 61, just trying to reduce speed. That's our number one killer in the state for traffic accidents. We've been extremely busy the last few weeks on the police department side. Along just today, myself and one other officer responded to over 12 calls between 7 and 3 p.m. today. And one of those calls, we had to call the Sheriff's Department, and they had an additional 6 officers helping us on one call today. So that's just not uncommon. Last 2 months, we've had reports of catalytic converters being stolen off of vehicles throughout town. We're up to 10 of them the last 2 months of them getting cut off of cars. So again, it's late night that it's happening, between business closed to when they get there the next morning and start their vehicle, and it's extremely loud. So anybody that sees any suspicious activity, please don't hesitate to give us a call. It's happening mainly in our business districts. We have increased patrol, but we saw where it takes less than 10 minutes to get in and out from cutting a catalytic converter off a vehicle by video, so it don't take much, and that's something that they can carry with them in and out on these jobs, so they don't have to have a vehicle close to them or anything. So it's just something that we've been dealing with quite a bit. And Bruce went to the academy on Monday, so he's in his first week there. So Officer Menon has been in FTO for a little over a week, and everything's going with him so far.
Do I have anything for Jess?
Yeah, Jesse, I was just wondering, how do you think it's going where we dropped the speed to 35 on agency?
We still get a lot of complaints. I wrote a citation out there today by some car passed me as I was going the same direction as they were. They passed me. I paced them going 48 miles an hour. I stopped her and pulled her over and gave her a citation. So we are issuing citations out there, but it's just people are not paying attention. It's there. We're getting traffic stops and we're issuing citations for speeding. So just like any other.
I still set my cruise control.
Very smart to do.
Anything else for Jess? Sean?
On the building side, last week I had taken off to move my daughter to college and get some things done around the house, which didn't happen. I saw about 10 properties in town that caught my eye for lawn problems. Driving around today, that's up to 25. And 7 of them alone are just boulevards. No one wants to mow their boulevard between the sidewalk and the street. I don't know what the cause for laziness is. So I got 25 grass nuisance issues I'll be dealing with. I had 2 nuisance issues yesterday, and I found another 7 today. Notices were sent regarding the parking lot conditions at 611 West Van Wees. It basically makes Walmart's parking lot before they started working on it look like it was brand new. It's terrible. And then someone in town has chickens in a residential zone, and that's illegal, so they got noticed on that. I'll be following up on that on Friday. If they don't have the chickens gone, I'll be confiscating the chickens and issuing fines for the tenant and the landlord. I've got 3 plan reviews I'm working on right now, with SEC being 2 of them and 1 for the high school. I have to get water flows for SEC. I'm working on 2 building permits, 1 rental application, and reviewing the floodplain ordinance that I hope to have done by the end of this week, so we can get that on the agenda at the next council meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
You'll have to have 3 readings.
It'll have to have 3, so yeah. On the fire side, August, we ran 68 calls total. 42 of those were medical calls, 17 were good intent, 9 of them were fires, motor vehicle accident related calls. We did have 1 call last Tuesday that we assisted Burlington on, resulted in a fatality of the occupant. We're very sorry for the loss of that person. It was actually West Burlington guys that got in and brought her out. We did have 1 firefighter go down, require transport to the hospital. He's doing better now. And I have addressed that situation with Greg, came up with an action plan, and we've executed that moving forward to eliminate that from happening again, or at least do our best to eliminate that. Greg's aware of that, and if you got any questions on that, feel free to contact him. Him and Kelly are fully up to speed on it.
Do I have anything for Sean? Okay. Kelly, you got anything going on?
At the next meeting, we will have some ordinances that are a result of the 2021 legislative changes. Every year we do those just to keep our code in compliance. So there's, I think, 6 of them this year, so those will be coming up.
Angie?
The auditors will be here tomorrow, and then they'll probably be back on Wednesday.
Friday?
No, they're not here Friday.
Oh, okay.
I'm not here Fridays. And so then they'll be back on Wednesday. And then this should be done, and the workers' comp audit was submitted yesterday. Otherwise.
Okay. Kathy, you got anything going on?
Yeah, I do have something to say. Bob and I have bought another house, and we're going to be moving. And so I'm going to be resigning my position, and I'll resign it on the election day. And that way, my position can be put up for vote with everybody else's. And I really apologize to everyone. I know you didn't vote for me to serve half a term. I would never have run if I'd seen this coming. I had no idea that this was in our future, because we both swore we were never moving again. So, and I appreciate everybody's support, and I thank everybody. I really appreciate it.
Okay, Doug, we'll have to get hold of the auditor, because this isn't a term that's up yet. So it has to be
right.
like a special term put on the ballot. Well, I appreciate you giving us the heads up. And
Yeah, just found out 2 days ago, so.
can I ask where you're going?
Oskaloosa.
Oskaloosa. Halfway, well, a little more than halfway to Des Moines. Okay.
Hans, I don't know if you want to mention too about the planning and zoning, or I can. With Bob and Kathy leaving, Bob served on our planning and zoning commission and our board of adjustment. So we have 2 openings on our planning and zoning commission that can be filled, board of adjustment position that can be filled, and we also are looking for somebody to serve as our liaison to the library board.
Library and airport.
And the airport authority board.
Right, for the airport.
So we can really put some people to work, and if they have any questions, they can give us a call, and we can kind of explain the process. And
Yeah, if you know of anybody's interested in any of those positions, have them get a hold of us. I've talked to several private pilots to see if there's anybody that has any interest, even from West Burlington, or is a pilot, or has any interest in aviation, to get a hold of us and see if they'd like to serve on the airport authority. Dennis has done a good job in the last few years that he's been on there. Andy, what do you got going on?
Well, I'd like to vote no against Kathy leaving. But other than that, just thank you very much for your help the last 2 years and your help with the parade this year. And it was a joy to serve with you.
Well, thank you, Andy. It was my pleasure.
Royce?
Just thank Kathy, too.
Grace?
Well, I'll second Andy's refusal to accept because, it seems like we just finally get everybody back on board and up to speed again, and then we're at it again. But you've been a great help these last 2 years, and I thank you for helping with the bicycle race this year.
Thank you.
Well, you got anything?
Yeah, Kathy, I was looking forward to getting to know you and work with you, but guess that's not going to happen, so good luck. Best wishes to you.
Thank you.
I'd like to send our condolences on behalf of the council and the city to Milton Branchini's family. For those of you that knew Milton, has been pretty much a lifelong resident of West Burlington and very active in the VFW, and he passed away here last week. His funeral's this Saturday, and the family had requested that I keep the flag at half-staff, and I will gladly do that. And I don't know when we're supposed to go back to full staff now from the 13 Marines that lost their lives, so. Anyway, Saturday, it'll be still flying at half-staff, if anybody see it. With that, I'll open up the floor to anyone wishing to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda tonight. Okay. Go to new business. And item number, Brad?
When is the street shop going to have a U.S. flag put on it?
Where we got flagpole on the agenda tonight.
Be coming up.
Okay.
It'll be on there. You're gonna be in charge of raising and lowering the thing.
I can't do that.
Remember that, I gave that, but Mike, he's in charge. It's on the agenda for tonight.
Okay.
We've been kicking that thing around for a few years because you can't put one on the building, the flag wouldn't hang out far enough, so we're gonna talk about a pole. So item number 1 is to consider changing the date of the next council meeting from September 15th to September 22nd, due to the fact that Kelly, Greg, and I were going to be at the League of City meeting in Coralville. Either way, it's going to be a 3-week in between.
You need a motion for that?
Really not, just information for you.
I think we should just do a roll call. Sorry.
Yeah, we never have done that before, so I guess we're changing all kinds of things.
Well, maybe we don't. You don't think so either? All right.
They're in agreement, all right? If anybody objects.
September 22nd.
Item number 2 is consider payment to French Reniger Associates for engineering services related to the following projects in the amount of the West Burlington Mount Pleasant resurfacing in the amount of $2,350, and the Wheeler paving and Ballard Pennington curve in the amount of $3,560.50.
Motion to approve.
Support.
So motion with support. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 3 is to consider payment to Phi Excavating for work completed on the Lewis Park Water Resource Restoration Sponsored Project in the amount of $52,541.
Motion to approve.
Support.
The motion with support. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 4 is consider payment to Snyder Associates for engineering services related to the following projects: Des Moines County Landfill Lift Station improvements, $1,209.10. Lewis Park Water Resource Restoration Project, $4,097. and the water tower and booster station in the amount of $8,252.50.
Motion to approve all three.
Support. Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Knightmeyer.
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 5 is to consider purchase of a flagpole for the Public Works Building. Got a quote from Nesper Sign for the amount of $3,962.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
Just wanted to know, did we get any other quotes or at least talk to anybody or?
Yeah, the original quote was $62.40, but I dropped 5 foot off the pole, and us doing the installation to get to that, that's a $2,278. And there was a quote, I think it was in the packet Teresa had asked about going to the side of the building. Then we realized that we have the awning all the way around, and you'd have to drill a hole through an awning. We really can't mount that style of pole there.
Not a huge price difference either. I mean, $1,300.
Well, and the problem is the 25-footer last year that I had for budget quote, it actually is up $400 from my budget quote this year. So that $3,962 is $400 more than last year when I got the quote because the price went up on it, but,
Of course. Okay, thank you.
Does that include lighting then?
no, we're gonna put it by the West Burlington sign, and we have lights on it and the power there, so,
Just be able to shoot one?
at that point, see if I can turn one of those up. If not, we can add a light right on the top of the sign with the others and aim up at the flag then.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Knightmeyer.
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 6 is consider change order number 3 from Boomerang Corporation related to the Mount Pleasant Street Water Tower and Booster Station project, and that change order is a $5,000 deduct. We're talking about removing the logo to just lettering.
Motion to approve?
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
And it's the green, the Kelly green.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's the same number that is on the logo. That is confirmed. Sent them the picture of it. That they sent us the samples. We confirmed the number, we scanned it in, sent it back to them, made sure they knew exactly which one it was,
Which Kelly Green is that?
which green it is.
Because, I read through all the emails and there was a little confusion on.
No,
It's just a dark green. It's like,
I've got it in there. If you'd like to take a look at it, we've got it still. So,
Okay.
but it's the
Kelly
exact
green's
color.
supposed to be the school colors.
it's a little bit darker than that. It's the color of this.
It's our color, our green. Cool.
Roll call.
Knightmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 7 is to consider surface transportation block grant agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation, and this is for the Mount Pleasant Street overlay project.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Knightmeyer.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 8 is to consider a resolution setting a public hearing date on the proposed Mount Pleasant HMA resurfacing project, Gear Avenue to Highway 34 ramp at 6 o'clock on the 22nd of September.
Motion to
Next council
approve.
meeting.
Support.
There's a motion with support. Any discussion?
I did have one quick question. What's our current time frame looking at on that project? I know it might shift, but
Bid letting would probably be, what, Greg, in late this fall yet, with possibility of,
This is a DOT let project.
they're the ones that led the project, so
I believe it's in the
There-
memo.
construction would be next spring, summer earliest.
I guess that was my question, spring or summer, if we were
Probably
looking.
start in the spring, but the bid letting, awarding the project, they have tentatively November.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Roll call.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Hightmeyer.
Aye.
Please.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 9 is to consider amending the application for the state of Iowa Revitalize Iowa Sound Economy, which is the RISE funds for a new roadway in the West Burlington Industrial Park. And Greg can take you through the time lapse and all the back and forth emails that he's been having with the state and everybody.
Absolutely. In a nutshell, based on the number and type of jobs at the location, staff is recommending to DOT that the amount per job be $8,500 in lieu of $10,000, and that of the 54 jobs, 33 would qualify. As such, that takes the original grant amount, which was a combination of two different types of RISE grants, both a immediate opportunity and a local development grant. The revised grant would be solely a local opportunity grant, immediate opportunity local development grant, which is 50-50 share. And the reason for that is purely numbers. That gets the highest amount based on the number of jobs and the dollar amount per job. So the summary you see that Zach from Regional Planning had put together gives you the difference and the increase in local match with the reduction in the RISE grant. So this would be an additional $205,940, bringing the city's local match to $559,466. And so it's something that I guess council needs to consider. We have two main projects. We just talked about Mount Pleasant Street. That's a $947,000 estimated project with about $356,000, I believe, in IDOT funding for that project. So that, along with this project, are probably the two largest projects we have. As you remember, the trail grant was, we didn't receive funding for the trail grant at this time. So those are your two largest projects that would require, and really, I guess we have two sources of funding for those two projects. That's GO debt and the federal ARPA funding for projects. That would just simply reduce the amount of GO debt that we would need to issue. So I want to make you aware of those numbers, the revised grant amounts, and give you an opportunity to consider those numbers, the application, and how you'd like to move forward. So we're happy to answer any questions. We have been on site. Jeremy was on site as well. Regional Planning, the mayor, myself, met with Deep Root, who was the source of the, or potential source of the immediate opportunity grant funds, but as a local development grant, we receive more funding presently. So, but they are moving forward. It's a small operation at this point in time. They have a plan for construction and build out, and moving forward, as I highlighted previously. But this is a substantial increase, and wanted to make sure we got it before council. They have moved this to their October board meeting rather than their September board meeting, which was going to be, I believe, next week on the 14th.
Something I thought of just tonight, or I would have asked you sooner. Does West Burlington still have any land there in our southern industrial park? Out there by where Maid-Rite and all those are. Does West Burlington have any area there that can be developed yet?
No.
Nothing?
Not for a number of...
There, I'll take it back. Isn't there, yeah, but that's not part of industrial park. The west of Borgie. That, between Borgie and the bank, the drive-in, that can still be developed. But that's, belongs to the hospital. But as far as being in the industrial park, no, there's nothing there anymore. And Jeremy's been working pretty hard on getting the rest of the industrial park properties sold.
I'm getting cold feet on this kind of substantial raise in the cost here.
Project was broken out into two component, well, actually three components. There's a future phase 3 component. Did we include the map on the agenda?
Which one?
The phases of the project.
Oh, the
Let's see, I
phases.
just want to
No.
see if there
You
was
go to the application.
application, right. There it is.
Do they have access to this picture?
No,
Yeah,
I
I
don't,
don't-
unless it's in the agenda.
I was just
It's in
looking for the map.
Reese has got that.
Actually,
I got it.
Yes, it's in the
Yes,
application.
yes, it's in the
On the
application.
attachment that's, for
So,
your reference there.
right.
Thank you.
The red portion and the purple portion are included in the grant. The gray section with the future cul-de-sac is the.
Thank you.
Is the future phase 3.
Can you say that one more time, Greg?
Sure. The red portion and the purple portion are included in the grant. The gray portion is a future opportunity should those projects develop. You know, we've talked in the past, this project's a little different than normal. There'll be some very minor increment, unlike most projects where, we have a new facility, there would be more increment to offset the cost for a project like this and pay for the infrastructure cost. And it was broken out into these two phases to minimize the cost rather than building it out fully at this point in time. The red portion gets you to Deep Root, the purple, and the purple portion gets you to lost my train of thought.
To the 7 AC lot.
To the 7 AC lot as well.
And then the rest of the cul-de-sac would be for future development if 10 AC and 6 AC and 4 AC would develop. But I think 6 AC and 4 AC, aren't they going to be combined, Jeremy? Eventually?
Well, 6 AC currently, so just so everybody knows, we're going through a land swap right now with Southeast Iowa Regional Planning as we get ready to kind of develop this whole area. So the little 6 AC that you see up in the upper right corner, that is currently even not owned by Grow Greater Burlington. Where you see lot number 4, where the green is, that's where the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning bus barn is currently being constructed. Lot 4 and the little 2 AC just below it will all go to Southeast Iowa Regional Planning, so they'll get those 6 acres. We'll take the 6 acres up in the upper right-hand corner, because those are just less developable for a business, for a firm or so forth, whereas the 6 AC up in the upper right-hand corner is much more developable. It's got, there's some break off and some fall to the land towards the road, but the rest of it is much more developable. And I'll just say this, I didn't come prepared tonight to speak, or I appreciate Greg and the mayor and everybody coming out to speak with the Chudais out. So lot number 1 there on your piece of paper is the Deep Root Irrigation Building. As they move forward with their plans, just so you know, they're owner, kind of a guy with some pretty deep pockets, is coming out next Tuesday and going to be checking out the land and all of that, so we're glad to have him out here. Everybody's got risk in the game. I get that with, you mentioned Kathy with cold feet. We took a risk, Grow Greater Burlington did, with buying the 36 acres at a little bit around $1 million. Deep Root took a risk with moving their company from California and buying a building that leaked and everything else, and so I understand and I appreciate the approach you're taking. That is kind of a, hey, let's do a little bit here, let's see how this goes, let's do a little bit next, and so forth. Obviously, from an economic development standpoint, that 7 AC, 10 acres to 6 acres, all of that is much more easily marketed and sold if there's a road and there's actually access to the place. But we move forward in steps, and we've taken a place that has been covered in concrete debris for 10 years, and we move forward in the best way we can. So guess that's what I would say to that.
Couple questions. With this change in the grant, if those 33, I think was the number, if those 30-some jobs don't materialize to that level, do we have to pay back some of this grant?
Up to 50% of the grant, they would most likely make that a proportional amount depending on what develops over that time frame. The grant's tied to the DRI project and 7AC. It's also tied to that additional lot on the, just to the north of the DRI project as well. The bus barn isn't really a factor, but the road is servicing the bus barn on the right-hand side there as well. But yes, we would be responsible for up to 50%.
And the clock, though, wouldn't start until the road is completed.
And there's a 3-hour, and I think we're still doing a little bit of back and forth. Jeff said that, Greg, I don't have numbers in front of me, but let's say that, so the county wage threshold to qualify for these RISE grant funds is like $18.94. Is that something like that? $18.94 an hour. And so when we spoke with Jeff, he's like, well, we're going to start these folks at $18 an hour. Well, we haven't gone back and say, hey, do you know that? So, and there's a window in here. So Jeff could hire somebody, or that Deep Root Irrigation could hire somebody in this area here at, let's say, $16 an hour to make sure they're going to show up to work every day and do all those things. And then there's a window. It's a 6-month. Greg, it's a 6-month window that we have to have those wages up to that $18.94 wage threshold. So, and that clock doesn't start ticking until 3 years after the road is certified done.
Accepted
or whatever. So I think we need to clarify that a little bit with him and to say, okay, so you're talking about hiring folks at $18 an hour. Do you think when you hire them at 18, in 3 years, you're going to have a 6-month window where they're at $18.94 or $19 an hour? I think we need clarification on that, what the DOT rules are and how we, and that's why Greg's suggestion perhaps to move from the September, I know that Southeast Iowa Regional Planning was kind of trying to get this in the September meeting, bump it back to October and get a little more clarity.
And the state, I understand, is agreeable to that.
The state has already moved it to
And they've
October.
already moved it.
They weren't prepared to put it on the agenda
Okay.
at this point in time. They've moved it to the October meeting. Just to follow up on that, though, if the company were to raise their rates, we would have to supply substantial justification as to why the rate had changed and the reasoning for that. So that is something that would have to be fully explained to IDOT as part of that grant application process. So we would have to.
They have not received the grant application as of yet, though, correct? So they don't know what those rates are as of today.
No, they know what they know what the rates are as
Okay.
of today, because they need those rates and the number of jobs in order to determine the grant amount.
Gotcha.
That was part of the application process going forward. Now, once they receive that information, the final numbers, that's when they
If there's
determine that
changes,
there
they
were
wanna know
33
what-
jobs and
yep.
$8,500 per
Understood.
job. And if you raise those rates, which is the question that we would certainly ask, but if you raise those rates, we have to come back to DOT and make sure that that is fully explained as to why those rates have changed and that they've committed to those rates. So.
Gotcha.
So just so I'm making sure I understand right, so we could be on the hook for another 275, 200, around there if those jobs don't materialize? Half of the 559?
Half of the grant amount, yes.
Okay, and then we talked about this at one point in time, and it just kind of got shoved aside, but aren't there some sewer issues we need to be talking about too?
And I hate to throw out numbers, but we have a 2-inch force main on site that crosses 1, 2, 3, at least 3 property owners. And that force main was originally supposed to be dedicated by Raiders when that, 20 years ago, at least. And that Raiders chose not to do that at the time. So that force main is currently technically a private force main that is being utilized by that's on 3 properties, being utilized by 2 owners, plus a housing subdivision on the opposite side of that. So you have public sewage going through a private 2-inch force main. So that's issue number 1. You do have water to the site, and Mike has some ideas on how we can improve, I guess, water distribution to the site. That would also have to be extended at some point in time. And a gravity sewer added to the northeast corner of the property where that, I guess I'd call it wet area is that you would see on the map, and just above 6AC, where I guess where 10 and 6 come together, you can kind of see where the water drains. I guess the goal would be ultimately to get rid of that force main and send everything to that gravity and then back into our system in the long run. So no matter what, that force main issue needs to get cleaned up, and we've mentioned that to all of the property owners out there. That needs to be resolved, no matter what we do. And then that gravity taken care of, water would have to, future infrastructure that would service those outlots could be captured in part with a potential TIF project or increment down the road. But for a gravity main to serve that gravity sewer to serve that entire area, plus water, you're probably, it's a big range, $1 to $2 million. It's a. But again, if you do, let's just assume lots 4AC, 6AC, and 10AC develop. You enter into TIF agreements with those projects. You can capture that increment to pay for the public infrastructure, including the streets, the sewer, and the water. Certainly wouldn't propose doing anything at this point in time with the gravity sewer. Any water extension beyond where it's serviced now, until such time as we had something like that or future development. So it could be offset to some degree at that point in time, depending on the size of the project.
Getting that force main turned over to us, and I've always been under the impression that was done. So, and nobody's, said anything to the contrary in the last 20 years till we started checking on this with this rice grant. And God forbid if that force main would go bad right there on the property line and that serves Emerald Glen, they're going to be without service. We'd have to do something.
I think all of the property owners are in agreement that that needs to be resolved and taken care of. And easements provided for that force main. It's just simply a matter of getting together and discussing that.
Correct.
At this point in time, I think all of the property owners are in agreement that that needs to be addressed. So, I hate to throw those large numbers out to you, at this point in time, because, Jeremy continues to do a great job, gets 3 projects out there, or, one nice, building project, it's worth, X amount of dollars. You can capture, all of the increment on that for 20 years if necessary. I mean, obviously we do the number crunching at that point in time, get some estimates on the sewer and the water, so on and so forth. And we already have estimates on that last portion of the road, so we would certainly do the numbers, and that's how I would typically bring a project like this forward, where we have or generate or have the ability to generate increment on a project. So don't let those numbers scare you, I guess, at this point in time on those extensions.
Even though if you go ahead and amend this tonight, it's not a guarantee that the rice grant is going to be awarded. I mean, we're competing with the rest of the state on other projects.
But yeah, I mean, we still have to have that discussion, additional discussion with the property, with the local business and those rates, and if we can justify that change and put that forward, it has the potential to increase, but they're going to want, significant justification for the change.
When you say significant justifications, that's something like the owner who's showing up on Tuesday says, hey, we really are believing this project, we're gonna have our starting rate at, I don't know, $17 an hour, and in 6 months, you bet they'll be at $19 an hour. Is that good enough? If you'll a memorandum from
They're
the
going
owner?
to, yeah, we'd have to
things
put
like
something
that?
like that together.
Okay.
To, for each position, why the rates changed, and, I mean, we would typically put this in a TIF agreement and put the requirements in there, so you have callback provisions, should they not perform. They have, we've talked about the necessity of having access to payroll. There's 3 different times during the process that you have to provide payroll data. They're certainly willing to do that. We would put that into a letter of agreement, but we don't have the clawback provisions of a TIF agreement, where we would have some ability to deny, the payout of it, increment or whatever it might be.
And if I understand correctly, also they've reduced the number of jobs that the grant amount is based on from 54 to 33.
She took those 54 jobs and came up with a calculation to get to that minimum $18.94, and there was 33 jobs, and that's how she was best
Kind of
able
backed
to.
into it.
She backed into getting the highest grant amount.
Okay.
Yes.
By saying she, it's the state.
Right.
Yes. The individual that we've been working with IDOT, Jennifer Kalasha.
And I'm not exactly sure that when we spoke to the owner of the business that he understood where the wage threshold was. And you're talking to a guy and you say, hey, how many of these jobs are you? Well, this one's going to be at $18. Well, if he understands that $19 is the threshold, and $1 an hour more is where he's got to get, at least once they're in that position for 3 years. I just think we need to flesh that out and communicate that more clearly to him, so I don't think he understands how this goes.
How close we are to the line, because what, that's a buck raise over 3 years for an individual?
Yeah,
right? That's
I mean,
32 cents a year.
look, and I thought about having him come here tonight, but, you know, I just think we need to make it clear to him that, if we're gonna adjust those numbers to the state, he needs to understand, what the wage threshold is, and then what the ramifications of him not making that are, before we would make any changes to the grant application. I don't wanna mess that up and so forth, but I'm just not sure, if he understood, he's this close, but, and perhaps, his numbers didn't make it there, so.
Have they started hiring out there already for?
Yeah, pretty slowly. They're still trying to they're going to be putting on, in this month in September, they're going to be putting a roof on the building. And they've struggled to get a bathroom out there for their employees and so forth. I think they're at 4 or 6 or something like that right now.
I think you said 6.
6. But I think once so it's a slow process for them. Yeah, and they are a debt-averse company. They do not take on any debt, so they're not going to go to the bank and we want to do this, so they'll go borrow $2 million. They base everything upon revenue that's coming in. And so as they grow, another couple questions are, they are looking to lease some of their space in that building, just to provide more income the more income they get into the building, the more they put into the building. So I know there's been some concerns about, whether they're trying to lease their space, they're moving somewhere, they're not going anywhere. They like the space, but they are trying to offset some expenses and create some income so they can invest into the building to get the building how they want it to be.
I guess I gotta ask, the more time I spend out there, because I've been driving 2 or 3 times a week out there and just taking a look. We can't go for a year or 2 with the current road for that business and see if it's going, see if we're ramping up from 6 to 12 and 12 to 24, and we've got to do this right now?
Well, just to keep in mind, I mean, yes, you could delay and not apply at this time. Any jobs that would be created between now and then would not be counted towards the grant application. So you need to keep that in mind as well. And I'm not sure just to be clear on I don't know if action is the right word. At this point in time, DOT is putting it on their October agenda as a local development RISE grant at the amount indicated in the packet. That is what is currently happening. Now, we have the opportunity to go back to the developer, and if those numbers change, make our case with DOT and see if staff will recommend increasing that RISE grant or making it or turning it back into a hybrid local opportunity and immediate opportunity and local development grant. But as it stands, it's going to DOT in October as a local development grant at the amount shown in the packet, which is $205,000 more. So I just want to be very clear about that. And whether they will consider that information, I mean, we'll have to justify it. So that's what you need. So I really don't know that there's any, that you would be required to take any action tonight. I mean, unless you don't want to do the project, I guess I would rather pull the application than reject the award if that's something that council is considering. But, you don't have to do that tonight. We could, we've got a couple weeks before the next meeting where we can meet with the developer and see if we can justify the additional wages and if DOT staff will recommend that. So, and bring that back on the 22nd. but I certainly wanted to make you aware of its status tonight and the increase in cost.
It just seems like the more we talk about it, the more questions I have. It seems like more question marks keep popping up, so.
I'd urge each and every one of you just to come in and talk with Greg, because it is a complicated grant and a complicated project. And just talking about here for 15 minutes, you're not going to get the whole story.
Yeah, and I don't really even mean that as much as I mean, you don't even know for sure the owner's take on things. I mean, there's so many things that are unclear to other people. It really makes it unclear to me. I just feel like it's unclear.
I don't think, though, we want the message to go out that we want to put the damper on positive development on something that's had no development for so long. I don't think we want to send any message to the guy, the individual, the owner, a deep root to that we're getting cold feet yet. We just want more information. We want to understand it better. More of us want to understand what we're getting into. Because new jobs, new companies to this area, that's what we want. That's what we want to grow. Now we got to be able to fill those jobs, which is a whole other game. But you know, it's a balance, right?
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to provide the opportunity and get people in it. But if you don't have an opportunity, people aren't going to take it. A no's a no. So we don't want to send any kind of message that, oh, we're backing away from this, because doggone it, Raiders area over there, while it's got a nice little lake in front of it and stuff, there hasn't been a lot going on out there that's been positive. My guess is as we dig into it more, we're going to find some more issues. That's the nature of new development and projects and challenges. The more layers you take off the onion, the more problems you find. But okay, let's go.
Right.
So maybe we just need to get more educated. And I know I feel pretty pretty unknowledgeable at this point.
You know, if in 2 weeks we have more, or by the 22nd, we have additional information, we can put that on the agenda. There's really no council action that has to take place tonight, but I did want to make sure that you were aware that it was at this point in time, it's $205,000 additional cost for the city's match, and that it would be on the October agenda versus the September agenda. So needed to make you aware of that.
So the city will pay $559,466.
Correct.
And then we'll pay half of that if the jobs don't come through. We'll pay half that again.
I'd like to get a little more information. I've always been a proponent of local development. You know, we did everything we could to keep GE and ABB here, and, you know, it's not that we don't work with companies, we do. But I think I want a little more information, because other people were part of the ABB, not just us. Now it's just us. It's a lot of money.
And I completely understand, and I support all you guys. I understand the position you're in. I would also, and I'll work with Greg, and we'll get maybe some clarity there with Jeff Judai, the owner. I would just invite you guys all to, and perhaps it's best, maybe he could come in maybe one of these times and visit with you. But he has told me many times that if you have any questions, they're open every day, Monday through Friday, from about 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The doors are open. It's kind of a dusty drive, but just pull in, introduce yourself as a council person, and you'd like to just hear more from him, and he'll be glad to share with you. So, you know, it's an open door. We're not trying to hide anything. We're not exactly sure how it's all going to go, but
Well, I know on the 15th you guys are gone. Can we have a little work session with him?
Well,
beforehand, so
I mean,
we can iron it
I
out?
guess if you'd like an introduction to, I guess, more information on the company, its operations, I mean, I guess that's certainly a factor, but I guess the key factor at this point in time is, can we justify 21 more jobs? Can we get to the higher threshold? And can we convince them to increase the amount from $8,500 to $10,000? Those are all things that, you know, and it starts with, I guess it starts with the owner and the wages, And then we have to make that case to IDOT and see if they're willing to recommend a higher grant award or not. And we can bring that back to council. So those three things are really the work that's got to happen. But on the 22nd, perhaps we could ask Mr. Chudai to come in and provide a brief summary of the business, if he's available.
Sure.
Or
But you're right.
if you'd like to do that in a work session.
The things that have to
Well-
change don't happen in here. They need to happen with the Chudais and with DOT.
But if you would like him to, we could certainly ask him to attend, or if you'd like a separate work session. How would you like to proceed, I guess?
Well, what you just said, Greg, those points you just made, that's why I said I had cold feet, because it seems to me like there are some unknowns here, and I would hate to make a decision. So that's why I would like to know more, too, before we make the decision.
I think I've been over there, I've come in, I've talked to you.
Yep.
I feel like I have every piece of information I have, and in the end, it comes down to, we're not ever going to have a guarantee that these jobs are going to be there. Okay, so do we have faith in this person, and do we want to take that risk for those amount of jobs to put this money into it? And then there is some silver lining of, hopefully in the future, you can develop the areas to the north of there and increase that as well. So do we want to put money behind that? And that's tough. And my question I will continue to ask is there a way to put other people in this with us? And I know you've stated that you have money in the ground, and I understand that, and they have money in the building, and I understand that, but if we put this new road in, the value of that building is going to increase, and they can just sell it the next day and probably get more out of it than what they bought it for. And I'd like to have a way where they have a little more skin in the game to hit those job numbers, besides just having to give us the numbers, but it doesn't matter to them if they hit them or not. Their road will still be there. And so I don't know if we can put a lien on the property for some of the extra value, that we increase it and that lien drops over a certain amount of time, or if there's a way to have it so if we get that 50% back on us for the $275,000, that they are partly on the hook for that as well, or the chamber or Southeast Iowa Regional Planning, because they'll be getting that road for the bus barn. But I'd like to have somebody else that has some, this benefits us, and if it doesn't work out, we're willing to pony up some money too.
I understand the point, and the problem is I don't have the typical mechanism available to us, which would be the TIF agreement.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about somebody coming up with, I guess, a voluntary agreement to compensate the city for a certain amount. I mean, there's really no other mechanism that we have other than, somebody to voluntarily, I guess, offer that, or, since we don't have a TIF agreement at this point in time. I mean, really just no other mechanisms.
Well, it's not only this issue, but it sounds like we're gonna have to do something with the gravity main and all of that other stuff. That all is gonna kind of like add up, isn't it?
Absolutely, but that's where I'm saying that, we have time. You got that third leg of the road, and if ideally that those all three sites develop, you end up with 3 TIF agreements. You capture that increment, it helps pay for the infrastructure. I mean, it's not going to be, I couldn't recommend a pure economic development, TIF. It's going to have to go towards that infrastructure. That would be my recommendation when those properties, hopefully, not if, but when those properties develop. So, but it's your comfort level that, going forward. It would have, roughly $1.1 million plus or minus that we're going to have to bond for those 2 street projects. And depending on what you do with the ARPA funding, if you apply that, that could reduce that amount. So. Come back in on the 22nd with perhaps more information from the property owner, IDOT, and I guess we'll do our best to get additional information for council at that point in time. That's about all we can do.
So is the idea that Mr. Chodai will be here at the September 22nd meeting or not, or?
We can ask if he'd be willing to come to
Oh,
the
he'd
presentation.
be more than willing to come.
I'm
I
sure
know
he'd be, right, if we have to do a separate session or meeting, if for some reason.
We could do a work
22nd.
session right after the regular council meeting.
Yeah.
If he wants to come to that.
I think the real work is for us to work with him and DOT between now and then so that we get these numbers locked down, and then he can come and speak to the council in a work session or whatever to give confidence to the job creation numbers and just have a conversation that way. We'll see where it goes. So, but.
Let's do that.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks,
Jeremy.
Thanks, Bruce.
Anybody have any old business? Anyone wishing to address council matters that are not on the agenda tonight, or if what we talked about tonight? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.